Sooner Nation, Longhorn fans, welcome to episode 57 of the Bevo Podcast, the only podcast exclusively dedicated to covering the greatest rivalry in college football, the University of Oklahoma and the University of Texas. I'm John Whitson. I'm here with my man Kevin Miller. It's 4th of July weekend. I'm about to go to the air show and watch the Blue Angels. This weekend has you dripping with patriotism. Kevin, have you ever seen the Blue Angels perform?
I have not. I have not seen the Blue Angels. Only on video, not in person.
You're missing out. Have you seen the Thunderbirds perform?
I have, actually. When I lived in Colorado Springs, they would do a lot of things out there. And when the Air Force Academy would have their graduation, they would come through there. So it was always cool to see, super loud. It's awesome, man.
I can't wait. We're going to be out there today. Kevin, do you know which plane the Thunderbirds fly and which plane the Blue Angels fly? Are you that kind of fan of American military history?
I'm not. Is one of them the F-16?
Yes, it is. The F-16 Falcon, flown by the Air Force. And then the F-18 Hornet is the Blue Angels. And for popular culture, that is the plane that is featured in the latest Top Gun Maverick movie. So there you go. Both
pretty good
movie. Well, dude, I've watched it like 4 times already. I love that movie. Both planes, though, interestingly enough, that's like technology from the 80s. So I find that fascinating that those are still the premier show planes for both the Air Force and the Navy. Anyway, I digress.
Hold on, real quick,
Sure.
before we jump off this. Are we currently using the F-22? Is it the Raptor? Is that what we're using now?
We use the F-20. We use the F-22, and I believe the F-35. I think both of those. I think the Raptor is used by both the Air Force and the Navy. Hey, if you're out there and you know, please hit us up in the comments. I don't want to speak out of turn. When I was a kid, I was all over this stuff. I was all over the names of planes and their capabilities and their Mach speeds. And all, I had a dream that I was going to be a pilot. My grandfather was a pilot
back in the day, right?
Oh, dude, with the swoop wings, bring them in, bring them out. Yeah. F-15 Eagle, all the planes. F-18, F-16. F-16 is featured in Iron Eagle, probably my favorite movie as a kid growing up. So listen, I was all about it. But also when I was a kid, I can name the starting lineup of every NBA team, and now I can't even name the starters for the Thunder. It's just insane.
Hey, listen. We'll get into this later, but we're going to talk about the Thunder later and what I think they're going to be next year. Because we're going to talk about a little bit of free agency. So
I like the pickup. They got a EuroLeague MVP. Who's that guy?
Man, look, their team already is stacked.
I think so. Yeah. Now, I wish they would have gone with more shooters in the draft, or at least one shooter. I contend that has been the issue for the Thunder since they moved to Oklahoma City is they don't have a sharpshooter. They just don't have a guy that they can count on hitting threes consistently. And that's been the case going all the way back to when we had Harden and Durant and Westbrook. We just didn't have that. I always think of it as the white
out there.
Yeah, I always think of it as just
John Paxson,
JJ Redick, Steve Kerr, whatever the case may be. We just don't have that sharpshooter, for the in my mind, the modern day sharpshooter is Klay Thompson. Like that guy's he'll go to the basket every once in a while, but he camps out the 3-point line and just buries it, and it's just anyway. Golly, we just jumped right in there. Hey, real quick, I want to take some time, Kevin. I want to let's put a pause on the NBA talk. We'll come back to it. Alice and I went to a event with Among Friends in Norman. You were on vacation, but that's okay. But our whole company did. And Alice met one of our super fans. Did you know we had super fans, Kevin?
I did not. Who is a super fan?
Alice was talking with Victor Long. Victor Long is a pretty cool dude. She said he was great. She said he listens to the podcast and listens to me on the radio. And but the problem was she didn't tell me any of this until we were in the car on the way home. She's like, wasn't Victor awesome? I'm like, Victor who? She said, Victor Long. And I'm like, I don't know who Victor Long is. And she said, he listens to you on the radio and on your podcast, and he's like a super fan. And I said, how many super fans do you think I have that you couldn't come and get me so I could introduce myself and say thank you for being a super fan? So anyway, shout out to Victor Long. You are in the super fan club, and we appreciate you listening. Kevin, what do you think about OU's latest news with losing Thad Turnipseed? Are you caught up on any of this?
I heard about it. It seems a little weird. What do you know about this? You're the OU insider, right?
I don't know much. For the casual fan, all the soccer moms out there that are listening to us and soccer dads, let me just frame who Thad Turnipseed is, okay? He was hired by Brent Venables. He was brought from Clemson. He had been at Clemson for 9 years. Prior to that, he was at Alabama for 11 years. So he's worked with Nick Saban. He's worked with Dabo Swinney. He's developed those into two of the premier modern programs, although, Alabama brings all that history, but still the modern programs of today. I mean, they are the premier programs, Georgia, but you get what I'm saying. They're not even relying on old blue blood status. They're top of the line from facilities, infrastructure, just the way the program's laid out, long-term planning. So we brought that Turnipseed. That was a big selling point to getting Brent Venables, is that he was bringing this guy along. And essentially, I would say he's in charge. He was in charge of, he's almost like a general manager in the sense that he was in charge of everything except football, right? So
except on the field stuff, yeah.
Exactly, right? All of that stuff. And so I find it interesting. I was doing some research on on the Oklahoma Breakdown, Gabe and Teddy's podcast. He claimed that he had 15 to 17 years left to work, and that he expected OU to be the next great dynasty. Okay? And his main job, at least initially, was the conception and execution of the $175 million football operations building. All right?
Okay.
My point is, he's only with us for a year and a half. We've got this guy, have a lot of expectations for, and now he's gone. It just seems weird to me. I don't understand what the heck happened.
Yeah, it seems very odd. And the timing of it, getting ready to go into the season too. I mean, it's got to be more to it, right?
Well, and I guess the plans for the football operations building leaked at the same time as kind of this announcement. Check it out online, guys. The building just looks amazing. I think it's really going to help other sports as well, because you're going to free up a lot of the other facilities for other sports. I've heard complaints from who will go unnamed, that some of our premier programs, I'm thinking about women's gymnastics, don't have the best facilities. In some cases, some of the worst facilities. And Oklahoma Gymnastics is the best program in the country. They should be in a palace when they're getting ready for a meet. So you would think that some of this would kind of trickle its way down, and you'd upgrade all the facilities. But I just find it odd. Now, as a football fan, I wasn't expecting Turnipseed to make any tackles or throw any touchdowns or make a block or even hold a kick on an extra point, right? So I don't know how much this affects the product on the field, but long term, I really feel like it's going to have an effect on the program. And I just wonder what the contingency is for Castiglione and Brent Venables to kind of fill this gap that's clearly needed heading into the SEC.
Well, I think the thing about OU football over the last 20 years or so, it's been the model of stability really throughout college football, right? You have the same staff in place from the top with the president, with the AD, with the head coach, with Stoops. And then even with Lincoln Riley, it was a smooth transition because it was just him. He was already on staff. So everything has just gone really smoothly. I think that's been a big part of OU's success, right? Starting from the top. So for this to happen, it just seems very un-OU-like.
That's a good point, Kevin. I didn't think of it that way, but you're right. We're just not used to that level of turnover. I mean, now, again, did we know what he did, or are we going to see the evidence of that on the field? I don't think so. I don't think this impacts. I don't think a recruit is not coming to Oklahoma because Thad Turnipseed's not there. But his impact clearly felt at Alabama, clearly felt at Clemson. You had the expectation of feeling it here at Oklahoma. Losing that, I think it's safe to say it's not great news. right? I think it's safe to say that.
Right. Correct.
But as we find out more, the Boomer Bevo podcast, we'll make sure and bring that to you. And but let's move on. Recruiting. For the Texas fan out there, give us the latest in recruiting news from the University of Texas.
Yeah, so they had a big day yesterday. 3 commitments. Okay, starting off, Parker Livingstone. He's a 4-star receiver out of the Dallas area. Okay, 6'4", about 190 pounds. Pretty big recruit. They've been recruiting him for a while. I know he had offers from OU, A&M. I believe LSU was after him as well. So he jumped on board yesterday. We also got a commitment from a defensive tackle named Alex January out of Duncanville, Texas. Huge high school program down there in South Dallas. If you look at both of our rosters, we've got players from Duncanville. Really one of the top schools in the country when it comes to producing talent. So he's a big defensive tackle listed at 6'5", 320 pounds. His dad actually played at Texas back in the day. So he chose Texas over LSU. He's a high 3-star player. And third, we had a commitment from a safety, Jordan Johnson-Rubel. He plays for IMG Academy in Florida. However, he is from the Fort Worth area. So, again, chose Texas over A&M and LSU. So
you got a couple of IMG guys, don't you?
Let's see.
I'm seeing Jared Gibson.
Yeah, Jared Gibson, the running back. He committed last week. Running back from there. He's actually originally from Gainesville, Florida, but plays at IMG now. So he chose Texas over the Florida Gators. So it was a slow start for Texas.
Now, when I'm looking at 24/7, and that's the one that we've typically used to kind of stay consistent, is the 24/7 football ranking, the 24 class ranking, and it is showing 49th. Is that?
Yeah, we started off there. I don't know if they've updated that because I know we were in the 40s.
Okay. So you might have bumped up.
I don't know if yeah, I know like on, let's see. Yeah, I got to see if they've updated it.
Because it's got Livingstone in there.
Does it? Okay.
It has Livingstone and Jordan Johnson-Rubel.
Okay, and it still shows 48, huh?
49.
49. Okay. Interesting.
Well, I was going to...
Go for it. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say I was concerned about Oklahoma when we were preparing for the podcast and I was on there. I'm like, Oklahoma's at 32 again, like way low, at the beginning of the summer like we were last year. Texas was riding high all year last year, right? Because you had the Arch Manning recruit at the top of the list, which just skewed all your numbers up. And so you were always in the top 5, right? So you never were questioning where y'all were. Every time you added somebody, it just maintained your position. Is it feel weird kind of having a reverse, kind of having almost like an Oklahoma-like ranking and recruiting this late in the cycle?
Not right now. I'm not concerned. Everything I'm hearing is that they're in it for a lot of big players. And I heard they've got a few silent commitments out there. Guys who are actually committed to the staff just haven't announced publicly. So no, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be good. I think we'll be fine. I think OU will be fine too.
Now, who are we competing against? You talk about big commits. Who are we going head to head on?
Okay, there's a kid out of California, and I'm trying to pull up his profile now. Brandon Baker. He's from Southern California, and I know he is considering both Texas and Oklahoma. Big offensive tackle.
Is USC on that list?
Yes.
That he's considering?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know those Southern California kids, man.
I hope one of us gets him so Lincoln Riley doesn't. That's almost as much, which is insane. I don't want Texas to win anything, but if it's a battle against USC, I might say go ahead and win it.
I've actually noticed that from your fan base. Okay, when the Latrell McCutcheon thing, did you hear about that?
Oh yeah, what an idiot! What is he doing?
So he transferred,
and his dad's worse. His dad's worse.
I don't know much about him. I know he's an Austin area kid. Went to OU, pretty much played a lot as a true freshman.
Played a lot,
and then followed Lincoln to USC, and now he's
in the year that he was playing, his dad would put the Oklahoma coaching staff, then under Lincoln Riley and Alex Grinch, on blast for not playing them enough, not playing them in the right spots. They don't know what they're doing. Their coaching's holding them back, all this kind of stuff, hey, dude, I agreed with you on that. Like, I agree with you. That's fine. I don't think you go put it out on Twitter when your son's in this,
still there
playing time. I kind of think you just kind of keep it to yourself, but whatever he did, he put the Oklahoma coaching staff on blast. And then when Lincoln Riley left, then McCutcheon follows him there. So it's like, okay, how bad was it that you had to go and blast him for it? And then you follow him. And then you don't even make it. Now he's at Houston. You saw that. McCutcheon's at Houston.
Yeah, so I saw a lot of OU fans, and several OU fans was like, oh, Xavier Worthy's going to destroy him again. He's an OU fan. Basically hoping that Xavier Worthy goes off on Latrell McCutcheon like he did in 2021 game.
Well, here's the problem.
Okay, well, I guess the enemy, is that the enemy of my enemy type deal, or what is that?
Yes. Here's the deal, right? When it comes to, man, I didn't expect it to talk Lincoln Riley psychology today, but I'm going to go ahead and try to explain this. Okay. Oklahoma, listen, I'm subject to this too. Okay. Everything I'm saying is stuff that I've dealt with a professional therapist for years and years. Okay. So I'm not full disclosure. The veil is being torn open. People in Oklahoma, of course, we have just little inferiority complex, right? We're not big, bad Texas. We're like a glorified suburb of Dallas, and sometimes it feels that way, right? So it's just, we appreciate loyalty more than anything else in the world. Loyalty, okay? And when it comes to our sports stars, more than anything, Kevin Durant leaving just crushed us. Because we thought he was loyal, right? I still, to this day, defend Russell Westbrook as a great basketball player. Even all evidence to the contrary over the last 4 years says he is a terrible teammate and player. Doesn't matter. He's the one that stayed. He's the one that saved the franchise, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, the same thing exists with Lincoln Riley. Texas never betrayed us. They were never disloyal. They just happened to be Texas. So we hate you. We don't like you. We want to beat you. But there's not that betrayal there, okay? There's not that betrayal. Lincoln Riley betrayed us for USC, and it stings. Now, when I say I want Texas to win a recruiting battle, let me be very clear. I would like Texas to win the recruiting battle only for the kid to then transfer like a year later, okay? So just keep that in mind. I'm not looking for like long-term success from this kid. I just don't want him to have any success at USC. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah, it makes sense. And I've always known that about you guys. I was talking to my wife about that last night. We were downtown having dinner, and we were talking about the Thunder and, going to some games next year and seeing Phoenix. I was like, so you can go and boo Kevin Durant, even though
I'd boo him so loud.
In 6-7 years, I'm like, you guys got to get over it for your own sake.
No,
not for him, right? You never have to like him. You don't have to support him, but for your own well-being, you got to move on. Same with Lincoln Riley. It's
the hate fire, right, that rests in our soul that propels people like me and Casey forward. You know what I'm saying? Like we need the hate fire. And that Kevin Durant is hate fire. Lincoln Riley is hate fire. Here's the thing, which I've always found fascinating, is when Darryl Royal, who was a fantastic quarterback for Oklahoma, played under Bud Wilkinson, and then ends up as the head coach at Texas. I can't even imagine what Twitter would have been like in the 1960s when he took over the head coaching job in Texas.
Yeah, it would have been unreal. There's no.
Oh, man, I can't even.
Right?
Oh.
I mean, listen, Sark was considering bringing in Mike Stoops as defensive coordinator for Texas when he got the job because they became close in the Alabama staff. And there was no way. The fans were like, no way, man.
No.
And I think Del Conte had to tell him, you can't bring Mike Stoops with you, man.
And that's the respect I have for Texas. They understand what we're talking about here. Like, no, we're not. No, no. Yeah. Not only did Mike Stoops suck as a defensive coordinator, but he's from Oklahoma. You don't bring in an Oklahoma, the brother of one of the best coaches. What's that?
Correct. Now, if Lincoln Riley wanted to become head coach at University of Texas, I don't know if
that's exactly. See, and that's a Texas fan for you. You know why? Because you enjoy 11-2. 11-2 is all Texas fan wants. Texas fan lives for 11-2. If y'all can go 11-2,
I think he can get better
and lose to Tulane in the Cotton Bowl, y'all would be thrilled. Y'all would call it a great season. You'd be hanging banners. That's Texas fan right there because you don't have that hate fire, Kevin. That's the difference right there.
When's the last
Everybody,
time?
I'm going to, if I knew how to do it, I would screenshot him saying he would take Lincoln Riley as his coach because that encapsulates Texas fan right there.
Y'all would take him back.
Are you freaking kidding me? No freaking way.
Yes.
Listen, this is a child safe podcast. I am this close to having to figure out how to hit a mute button. I'm going to hit it right now. I'm going to hit it. No way. No way. No way. No way.
So even if it doesn't work out with BV.
Oh, listen, dude. If he doesn't,
hold on. I'm not saying you'll take him back, Lincoln Riley, but you don't miss him a little bit.
If I had to be completely objective, I miss the offensive talent that he would bring in. I mean, obviously, Caleb Williams just won the Heisman and provided Oklahoma fans the greatest sports memory or moment of their lives live at the Cotton Bowl in 2021. I will miss that moment. But no, I don't miss Lincoln Riley. I just don't think that he develops the kind of program that it takes to win a national championship. You know, guys like
you think he'll ever get one?
No, they don't play defense. They don't. You know, Colin Cowherd will get on the air and he'll say, "Oh, Oklahoma's really missed the boat. Young offensive mind, blah 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 blah." Pete Carroll was a defensive guy at USC. Pete Carroll had amazing defenses at USC. Okay, when Oklahoma won a championship all those years ago, it was defense. Yes, y'all had Vince Young, but y'all were loaded at defense. Alabama's teams. Defensively, Georgia, he had a chance at Justin Fields, and he went with whatever the guy's name is, Jake Fromm, and won a national championship. So, no, he doesn't have what it takes to push a team over the edge. They will continue to score a lot of points. They will continue to razzle dazzle, and they'll win enough games that he'll be an offensive guru. But they don't build programs. He won't build a program to win a national championship. All right. I've already given Lincoln Riley enough of my life.
Real quick, before we move on, I was surprised he brought Grinch with him. I thought he'd start fresh with a new defensive staff. He went with a comfort hire. I don't like when coaches do the comfort hire thing.
No, he went with a comfort hire and for no reason. You know?
Exactly. He had a blank check. He said, bring in whoever you want. And he brought, the guy who was already there. And maybe it's a weird loyalty thing. And coaches are like that, But, nah, man. Get somebody else.
No, loyalty will kill you in sports sometimes. If you wait too long to make a decision, which is what I think happened with Mike Stoops. I think he felt tied to Mike Stoops that he had to keep him as long as he did. He should have made a change after that first year.
Now, with that, I think he did have some. I thought he had external pressure with him taking the job from Bob, being pretty much. Bob wanted him to be the head coach. Right.
I agree. I agree.
Hire his brother instantly. So,
No, I agree.
I think he had to wait till he had to do that. So, anyway.
All right. As it relates to OU recruiting, our big get from the past couple of days is Ivan Carrion out of Odessa, Texas. He was previously committed to Texas Tech. He's a top 15 wide receiver recruit in the country. Get this, Kevin, 6'6", 196. Is that a specimen or what?
For sure, man. And Tech is doing a pretty good job on the recruiting trail this year. So to get a flip from them, it means more than it would have a couple years ago.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Is this a direct...
You know how I feel about Joey McGuire.
Yeah, but is this a direct reflection on Emmett Jones, the new wide receiver coach that we took from...
I'm sure, man. That dude's great. He's a top recruiter. He's one of the top recruiters in the country, especially at the wide receiver coach position. Listen, I think your recruiting is going fine. And I just looked on 24/7, and it looks like they updated the rankings, and Texas is 32, OU is 33 right now.
Oh, did I miss just in the time that we've been talking?
I don't know. When I went on there and looked at the rankings, they had Texas 32 and OU 33.
This is breaking news. So, breaking news on the Boomer. Breaking news on the Boomer Bevo podcast, because Kevin, seriously, that's in the time that we talked about it. because I just refreshed. That's crazy.
Okay.
Well, but still, I mean, neither one of us can be thrilled about 32 or 30. But I'm with you. I mean,
it's still
we're
early.
getting.
I'm truly not in the least concerned right now.
I'll tell you what concerns me for Oklahoma is not getting Cooper Alexander out of Washington, a legacy 4-star tight end whose dad was a really, really, really good player for us and a good player in the NFL. That's concerning to me that we can't pull that kid in from just down the street in Norman, Oklahoma. I just hate that. It makes me queasy.
What do you think happened there?
What's the guy's name at Iowa State? Iowa State.
Oh, Matt Campbell, Iowa State.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
interesting.
Well, I mean, you got the Charlie Kolar situation, right? It was Charlie Kolar, right? The tight end there that was from Norman.
Yeah, from Norman North. Yeah, Norman North.
And I'm sure Matt Campbell's a good recruiter. This is nothing against Iowa State at all. I'm not saying why did you pick Iowa State. It's just it's like those are the players where I feel like Oklahoma and Texas, when they're in your backyard, when they're legacy, and when they're high recruits, you don't have an excuse. I don't think you have an excuse for not getting them. Like, did we wait too long? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was like Texas with the Brockermeyer twins, right? They had Blake Brockermeyer was an All-American offensive lineman in the 1990s, and his sons, he had twin boys. One was a 5-star tackle, the other one was a 4-star center. And I mean, from Dallas, had spent their whole life going to Texas games. But I mean, they didn't go to Texas, but at least they went to Alabama. You know, I could see.
Yeah.
You know, at least you can understand it somewhat. I mean, especially it was Tom Herman, right? He was kind of a clown in some ways. So I understood them going to Alabama as much as it hurt to lose a legacy. But it's interesting when a kid chooses Iowa State over OU when he has offered and he's a legacy.
It's weird. I don't know. I don't like it. It's weird to me. Other in-state talent though, we did get Xavier Robinson out of Carl Albert.
Yeah.
He's only a 3-star, but the measurables are good. 6'2", 220. Video looks great. You know, running back's one of those positions where if you can run the ball, dude, and you can get open, we'll take it. So I like that, getting that kind. It's only a 3-star. I'm not getting, fired up. But I guess DeMarco Murray is just in on some fantastic running backs, and he might take 2 or 3 in this cycle.
Well, the one guy that I would be really excited about is Caden Durham, also from Duncanville. We talked about the Texas commit Alex January from Duncanville. He's from the same high school. And this guy, he's originally from Moore. I think he grew up in Moore and then moved to Duncanville when he was in the 8th grade. This guy's a track star. He's one of the fastest players in the state of Texas. I think he ran a 10.2, 100 meters. And he has great production too. He hasn't committed yet, but it seems like it's only a matter of time. For some reason, Texas has not been all in on him, and they already have 2 running backs committed now, so I guess they made the choice. But if I'm Texas, I would be all in on this guy because again, you don't get that kind of speed often, and he's productive too. It's not just hey, maybe he can be a good running back. He's been a good running back for one of the premier programs in the state of Texas, and like I said, he has blinding speed.
So yes, I have heard about the Caden Durham. I know that we're in on that, and I think there's crystal balls or future casts or whatever the latest term is for him. But what about the kid that Lincoln Riley, the 2-sport athlete that was going to go to USC? That DeMarco Murray. It looks like he's poached from USC, or at least got them to decommit. Do you know who I'm talking about?
Not exactly. Do you know his name?
Well, of course not. That's why I'm asking you.
I don't. Let me check.
I'm typing USC decommit running back. See if I can find a name for you.
Well, I think DeMarco Murray knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, right? He was a fantastic player. And I think he's proven to be a good running backs coach and a good and a good recruiter too.
And he's loyal because Lincoln Riley offered him to come. He could, and he would have killed it at USC. Are you kidding me? DeMarco Murray's got that personality. He's got the vibe. He's got the NFL pedigree. He would have killed it at USC. And so that's just another example of the loyalty that we appreciate.
I've always respected him because he had to change his game. Remember, when he first got to OU, he was just one of these guys, just super speed, right?
Yeah, in his first spring game, he took a touchdown back. Yeah.
Remember his first game against Texas in 2000 or 2007. He had that
one of the great runs. One of the great runs in the rivalry. Absolutely.
And, then he hurt his knee. He had a couple of bad knee injuries, and then he kind of had to alter his game and still ended up being a great player, and then got to the NFL and had a great NFL career. So he's just a guy I've got a lot of respect for his story.
Oh man, he was great with the Cowboys. He was really, really good. Mm-hmm. What do you make of this offensive lineman Aaron Parks for us that entered the transfer portal and has now pulled his name back out of the transfer portal and he's back with us?
I heard about that. You just never know what's going on behind the scenes with these guys, right? It could have been a family issue. It could have been maybe he thought he wasn't going to be able to play. Have you heard anything specific?
No. I just saw it today. I almost think it's a Schmitty issue, like having to just work as hard as you are in the middle of the summer. Probably you're like, dude, I'm done.
I'm done with this.
I'm done. You know what I'm saying? Like I put a fork in me. Like I'm going to go somewhere else. But I'll take the kid back. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think the transfer portal is odd, but just because a kid enters it doesn't necessarily mean anything. And clearly, we want the kid back.
Speaking to take your options, right? You got to see
speaking of transfer portals and people leaving, what do you think about these ESPN layoffs from this weekend?
It was really surprising looking at that list. It makes you wonder what goes into their decisions with some of these guys.
Well, it makes me wonder too. Okay, so the reason this is relevant to the Boomer Bevo podcast, not that anything has to be relevant for you and I to talk about something, but the reason this is relevant is because the SEC is going to hold the contract. I mean, the ESPN is going to hold the contract for the SEC starting in 2024. So what was previously CBS primetime game at 2:30 in the afternoon is now going to be a ESPN time slot. All your night games will be at ESPN. I mean, basically, we're going to be on ESPN. We're either going to be on Plus or ESPN, right? Yeah. Unless we're playing a Big Ten opponent where Fox wins the right. I mean, I think thinking of maybe like Texas, Michigan. That could be a Big Ten game. But for the most part, we're going to be on CBS or not CBS, ABC or ESPN. Mm-hmm. And you're losing some really interesting characters from their on-air talent. Now, here's the problem. ESPN has been doing this for years. I mean, it's not the same ESPN that you and I grew up on, and it's just weird. But as it relates to football, specifically the SEC, David Pollock, you lose David Pollock, and you keep Lee Corso. How is that even possible?
Yeah, I don't know, man. And look, I think we both love Coach Corso, but it seems like it's been time. It's been time for a few years now, right?
Well, I mean, I'm not saying you fire Lee Corso, but you can really diminish his role and make him kind of I don't know, man. But to lose David Pollock, I think you're losing a really solid commentator that brought a lot of energy, a lot of knowledge, a lot of credibility to the SEC coverage that they had.
Correct.
It just, I mean, and he would pick on OU as much as anybody else. I mean, not really. I thought he was always a really positive guy, or probably still is. But it's just, I don't know. That's a weird pick. And then also along the lines of college football is Todd McShay. How did they lose McShay?
Yeah, that was surprising.
And I got to tell you,
he's been doing it for a long time.
And here's the thing, right? If you're trying to lose somebody, Kiper doesn't still work. Is Mel Kiper still with them?
He's still all over the draft. Uh-huh.
Okay, I got to tell you, if I'm choosing to save money and want to go younger and leaner, and I want somebody that's willing to go on the road and cover games during the college football season, in addition to all the draft work and NFL work you do, aren't you taking Todd McShay over Mel Kiper?
You would think so, man. You would think so. And Yeah, like you said, not in addition to his draft stuff, he covers games on the road. His sideline reporting talks about the top prospects from each school while he's there. Where he's got them ranked in his draft rankings. So yeah, this is very surprising. Very
Well,
surprising with him.
and I think it is. I think it's going to impact the coverage by ESPN on the SEC. I mean, here's the
Yeah,
problem. Here's the problem with the SEC or with the ESPN's coverage right now. Not even think about not even think about where they're at the SEC. Just right now. Yes, Herb Street and Fowler are fantastic. That's great. Okay, you correct me if I'm wrong. You drop even a rung lower on the network on the coverage that day on a particular game day, dude, it gets rough. You run the risk of having dudes call games you've never even heard of.
Yeah, I mean, you got who was their second? Was it Joe Tessitore and Greg McElroy? I think they do a pretty decent job. They did the rivalry shootout last year.
I like Tessitore. That's fine. And McElroy's fine.
McElroy does a good job. Yeah, he does a pretty good job. But again, there is a bit of a gap though between first and second. For
sure. Dusty Dvorak is one of those guys, and that's fine. But like his broadcast partners changed. His broadcast partners changed a couple times. It just hasn't been great. Robert Griffin III is fine. Yeah, he just doesn't bring that. He doesn't bring that gravitas yet, I think, to a game.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I just don't love their coverage. I don't love after, like I said, and it was really apparent to Oklahoma fan when we stopped getting primetime games, right, and good games, and we're starting to fall down the pecking order last year as the losses mounted up. That you're getting recruiters you never heard. You were getting analysts and broadcasters you never even heard of, and they were terrible.
Yeah, especially the ESPN Plus ones. I mean, those were rough. Especially was it the Baylor one?
Is that the one? That was. I know we had Ryan Leaf for one of them. I thought he was okay, but
yeah, still. He was okay. But yeah, man.
Other names that don't necessarily hit us with college football, but I just find interesting. Jeff Van Gundy, thoughts?
I always liked Coach Van Gundy. I thought he did a really good job. So, yeah, I was really surprised, man. I mean, you usually don't see guys like who are just announcing the NBA Finals.
Right.
So now, he's on their third broadcast team. He's the A-list guy.
Okay, so he's the A-list guy. Now he's on with who's the other guy? Is it Breen?
And Mark Jackson.
And Mark. So your question might be, do you drop to 2 and just have Mark Jackson and Breen? Or do you add Doris Burke and make her the first woman to call for network television NBA Finals games?
Listen, I wouldn't have a problem with that. I think Doris Burke is fantastic at what she does. I look forward to watching games. I love her insight and knowledge and the way she explains things. I think she does a great job. So I'd be fine with that.
I do too. I like Van Gundy. This is one of those deals, though. If you're asking me to choose between Van Gundy and Doris Burke, okay, yeah. All right, I can make that happen. Okay, how about this one though? I don't know. Maybe she's been there too long and her salary was really high, but I'm going to miss Susie Colbert. I love Susie Colbert on ESPN NFL coverage.
Me too. From NFL Live to the Monday night broadcast, yeah, she's done a great job for a long time.
Dudes that I am surprised lasted this long. Max Kellerman. That guy was a no talent ass clown.
Man, he's been there forever. I remember him when he was on ESPN back in the early 2000s, and then he left to go to Fox for a while. They gave him his own show, which didn't work out. So they brought him back, and that's when he started doing the First Take and stuff.
I just don't think he's very good. I never thought he was very good. So to me, losing Max Kellerman's like, well, that should have been done a long time ago, and it didn't even need to be.
He used to host Around the Horn back in the day.
Yes, I read a story. I read an excerpt about that they didn't like they thought they would like him in Around the Horn, but because in Around the Horn he was more of a facilitator and less of the personality. That's why they. Yeah, he was just the host, and his job was to get the opinions from everybody else. That's why they moved him off of that. I don't know. Whatever. The last two that we'll hit on, or two, and then one that's staying that does have to do with college football. But two that we're going to hit on. I'm going to miss Jalen Rose, dude.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I thought Jalen Rose was great.
I think that ESPN, I don't want to get too deep here. What time? 40 minutes into this, but that's okay. We can have a deeper conversation. I think ESPN continues to have a problem with how they address race and yet continue to market their product to their prime audience. Okay? So what I mean by that is their prime audience is becoming guys that look like me. Okay? In case you're not on YouTube, that is a 44-year-old white guy who grew up on ESPN. That's who watches ESPN or who always watched it. As the entertainment world, has changed, they've tried to become a more diverse, and some say woke corporation, which has a unfortunate consequence of sometimes maybe alienating said market. Okay, I think that's a real problem. Am I wrong? Do you think? Do I at least acknowledge? Do you at least acknowledge that there's a problem with how that there's a conflict there between those two?
Yeah, their coverage of things has been a little weird. It can be hard to understand sometimes.
Okay, all right. So we know that there's a problem. I'm not saying what's right or wrong. It doesn't matter. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying specifically with Jalen Rose, however, is that when he would address issues, I valued his opinion.
Yeah.
I was interested in what he said. And it was oftentimes different than my opinion, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I thought he had a very good way of explaining it, of putting it in perspective, of explaining to somebody like me a different perspective, a different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
And so
it's like, understand where he's coming from, even if you don't necessarily agree.
Okay, I understood and respected where he came from, right?
Yeah.
Now, maybe it's because I think he was a really good basketball player and an underrated point guard in the NBA, right? I mean, there's all those things affect my bias, Kevin, if that makes sense. Yet at the same time, if ESPN is going to go woke, right, or whatever, why are you picking people to let go of that actually garner the respect of the market you're trying to hold on to? Because I don't think I'm alone in that. I think if I asked any other mid-40s white guy and I said, hey, what do you think of Jalen Rose? First of all, he was a great point guard in the NBA. I think he's probably underrated. He was a member of the Fab Five. And when ESPN asked him to say something, it made a lot of sense what he said. But no, we're going to keep the loudmouth guys that have nothing, that when they say stuff, they just piss you off. Now, I'm going to turn that over. I know that I just kind of opened the box there maybe. Well, please retort.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious as to what their corporate plan is. What are they trying to do? What kind of people are they trying to have? So are these layoffs going to result in them bringing in other people from other networks? Are they poaching Fox? What's going to happen with Shannon Sharp? He left Undisputed, the show he had with Skip Bayless a few weeks ago. Are they bringing him in for something? I'm just curious to how they rebound from all this, how they reshuffle some of their shows, right? Their college football coverage. They also, like you said, the NBA coverage now that Jalen Rose is gone. Also, who else? There were a couple other people. Keyshawn Johnson, they got rid of him.
But so like with Keyshawn, maybe it's because watching him as a player, he was kind of a punk, at least in my mind. The respect for him was never really there. Like, okay, whatever Keyshawn says, I don't really care. It's like whatever.
Yeah.
Not that I'm sure he's not a punk now. That's not what I'm saying, but it just didn't garner, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. But Jalen Rose, for every reason, hits me. Here's another one. It has nothing to do with the issue I just talked about. Steve Young. I can't believe they're getting rid of Steve Young. People love Steve Young on there.
Yeah, he's been there forever. Yeah, he's been 22 years, it says.
Yeah, I thought he was really good.
Yeah, he's a really smart guy. He's an attorney, isn't he?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I was surprised about Max Kellerman too. I know you don't like him and everything, but I was just surprised. And Neil Everett.
Neil Everett's been there for years, 20 plus years, him too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess you end up getting your salaries bloated and then, that makes it hard and difficult to do whatever, but I don't know, just finds out. Okay. Last person though, that is staying that directly affects the college football coverage. You and I don't talk about him very much. I'm not even going to say my thoughts. I want to hear your thoughts first. Pat McAfee. He's getting a much more enhanced role at ESPN.
I think he's a really funny guy, and I think his show was really good, even before it was on ESPN. Yeah, I like Pat McAfee a lot.
I can't stand him. I cannot stand him.
Did you say some things about OU that you didn't like,
it's just his general countenance.
It's just him.
It's just him. It's the weird antics he does.
He's a little bit different on. He's weird. He can be a little weird on when he's on game day, but his actual show. If you ever watch his actual show, he's pretty cool on there, and he has some pretty good guests and stuff.
Well, I know that for years, right? Aaron Rodgers and him were buds. I mean, that's in many ways that's what solidified him as kind of an authority to be able to speak on sports.
For sure, yeah.
As much as he
Aaron
has.
Rodgers is really picky about who he does interviews with.
You know what? I appreciate
come on there so often.
I appreciate that advice because you are exactly right. My thoughts of Pat McAfee are what I've seen on game day or what I've seen in his limited roles interacting with other ESPN anchors. I probably need to give him a little bit of time on his own show.
Yeah, he does a good job, man. And for him to be a punter, I think he has a great personality and I think he knew his role, and he doesn't act like he was a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah,
but he's been in a locker room, and he has such a unique perspective about it from being a punter. So you kind of never really included in all the team stuff. So he sees it from an outsider, but from inside the locker room.
Okay,
so the perspective on that is very unique.
Okay, so to your point, you asked a really good question. Is you in a lot of these layoffs, you don't know what the strategy is yet. If the strategy is lose David Pollock and McShay and pick up McAfee, is that a net win for ESPN?
I think it could be because of his personality. He's got a dynamic personality, and I think he'll bring a different set of eyeballs to the network. And his deal was kind of set up for streaming. So I think it's kind of more geared toward a younger audience, maybe a 30s to early 40s type audience. So I don't know. I think he's going to do a good job. I think he's going to do a really good job.
I don't know. It seems pretty weird to me. Real quick, our title sponsor, Brown O'Haver. They work for the insured, not the insurance company. 2 weekends ago was Father's Day, and the Tulsa area got lit up by straight line winds. It was a very, very weird storm. Kevin was up in the Tulsa area for over a week. We've had somebody from our office in Tulsa over the last 2 weeks there every single day. We're going to continue to be there. If anybody's been impacted by storm damage and needs some insurance claim help, please call 405-735-5510 or check us out at brownohaver.com. Kevin, what else you got going on?
Not much, man. Just excited for the 4th. It's always a fun day. Fireworks, food, family. Good times,
man. Here's the problem. Okay, I didn't want to bring this up, but you brought up fireworks. You tell me if I'm wrong. I love fireworks on the 4th of July. Okay? I mean, dude, how American? I'm the most American person you're going to meet. I'm going to go to an air show where I'm going to watch the Blue Angels. I watched the Memphis Belle last night with my daughter. It got me fired up about our victories in Western Europe in the early 1940s. I love America, okay? But when it comes to fireworks, I really just want them on the 4th, okay? I want them on the 4th. But it feels like on a weekend like this that starts on a Saturday and the 4th isn't until Tuesday, that you have to hear fireworks outside your house for 4 straight days. And I got to tell you, I don't love it.
Okay, I haven't heard any yet.
Well, you're in the city, though. You're in the city.
Exactly. Yeah. We were driving on downtown, and we were on I-44, and from there, we could see a few displays going off randomly around the city last night. So, yeah, man, it is weird, right? Because not everybody, a lot of places will have their displays on the Saturday and Sunday leading up to the 4th.
So like our neighborhood is doing an official shooting of fireworks in the neighborhood tonight. Okay. But then, on Tuesday, Everybody else can be shooting like crazy tons of fireworks. I'm like, oh my God, can we just like have a rest with fire? And is that me just being a grumpy old? Am I just a grumpy old man? Is that the problem? Should I love fireworks every day of my life?
Yeah. No, not every day. Not every day, but I think this whole weekend. I think everybody gets a pass for this weekend.
So basically,
are you a fireworks guy? Like, do you like to set your own off, or you just kind of just sit back?
Our family will all gather at my parents' house. They live in a neighborhood in Moore, but it's outside. It's on the east side of Sooner, and we will shoot a tremendous amount of fireworks. Alice Young buys fireworks like only you can imagine Alice Young buying fireworks. I mean, she goes all out. It is insane.
Yet, or are you?
No.
Tonight or tomorrow?
No. Her strategy is to do a 6 p.m. purchase of fireworks on the 4th. She believes that they want to get rid of their fireworks, right? Because the next time you're likely to have a real big firework day, right, is maybe New Year's Eve, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
She's thinking they're wanting to clear out some inventory, liquidate, make her a deal. Nobody loves a deal more than Alice. So she goes with the kids, 6 p.m. on the 4th, because there's right up here on Sooner Road by where I live is like 4 or 5 stands, like right in a row. And she hits all of them, and she buys the big boxes, but she just really works them down. She really, really, really works them down. It's pretty impressive, actually. We get a crap ton of fireworks. And yes, we shoot them. And I'm the guy that has to do it, right? I'm the dad and the uncle that is in charge of the fireworks show. And I take that responsibility very seriously. I just don't want to have to listen to him for the next 4 days. But that's all right. That's okay. I don't like Pat McAfee, and I don't like fireworks. So I don't know. What else is there?
It's kind of un-American.
One last update on our lives. I need to hear about the yard. How are we looking now? How will the yard look for the 4th of July?
Okay, man, I got to get to work in. See, I was gone all this week, so I didn't get to mow or anything. So as soon as we finish up here, I got to mow. I got to get down. I got a fast release fertilizer I'm putting down on it. So by Tuesday, it should kick in, and it should be looking great for the 4th.
So is it sketchy right now?
It's not sketchy for me, because I mow usually no more than every 3 days, and I haven't mowed since last last Sunday. Actually, no, I did Monday.
We've had a little rain, but nothing too crazy. Nothing too crazy. You should be okay. Now, will you mow it in multiple cuts now because it's a little long? Will you go like a little higher and come back a little lower, or are you just going to go one?
I don't think I have to, because I use a product called Plant Growth Regulator that I spray on it, and basically it makes it grow slower. So even though it's been about a week, it looks like a normal yard would look after 3 days, maybe.
Wow. Okay. First of all, we should have led with this. This is amazing. I've never heard this term before. So you, in addition to fertilizing to encourage growth, you then inhibit it with a growth. What do you call it?
Plant Growth Regulator. So I have this cocktail that I make into my spreader. It's a liquid iron product, so it doesn't have a ton of nitrogen. It's a nitrogen that pushes the growth. Okay.
Right.
This product that I use.
Nitrogen is the anabolic steroids of
correct
grass growth.
It doesn't have high nitrogen, so it doesn't cause it to grow, but it has micronutrients and it has iron. That's what gives you that deep green color in it. So I mix that. Okay. It's fertilizer, but it's low nitrogen, so it doesn't push growth, but it pushes color. And then I also mix in the Plant Growth Regulator that makes it grow a little bit slower. And so you don't have to come out and mow. Because when you mow low, you have to mow often. So instead of having to mow every 2 days, I can space it out to 3 or even 4 days, and it's fine.
Kevin, this is amazing. Can we okay, look. You're not prepared to do this. You don't have to do this. And if you don't feel comfortable, that's fine. Could we I see you're looking out the window. Can we get a shot of the yard? Or do you want to wait until it's mowed?
I'm not in a good spot to see it, but here's what I'll do.
Will you put it on Twitter? Will you put it on Twitter after you mow it? After you mow it.
Correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I've got 5 acres, and I mow about 2.5 acres. Like I keep 2.5 acres taken care of. It's a struggle this year for whatever reason. I've got some spots in them. Got a little bit of weeds. I'm working on it though. I got a plan. Here's the other problem though. I have a pond. It's not a very big pond. And before people ask on Twitter, is it stocked? It is not stocked unless you count turtles and frogs. I got tons of turtles and frogs. But I've never wanted a pool, okay, because I don't want to have to take care of a pool. I don't want to skim it. I don't want to treat it with the chemicals. I don't want to do any of that stuff. Like, it just looks like a real pain in the ass. But here's the problem. This pond, I am now starting to take care of it like somebody takes care of a pool. I'm out there with solutions and granules and copper sulfate, and it's like every 3 days. I'm just throwing stuff in it, trying whatever. I got a scum right now that I can't get off. I got a thin layer of scum on top. I've got vegetation in it. It's I'm having one of the hardest lawn care summers maybe of my life.
Okay. See, there's no way I can do 5 acres or even mow 2, right? My lawn is small. It's like 6,000 square feet.
Yeah, but it's gorgeous, dude. I can attest, even without the picture. I'm telling you guys, when this thing goes up on Twitter, you are going to be texting him and tweeting him for tips and care advice. It's fantastic. Kevin Miller he's a magician, folks, and you will be fired up. All right, dude. Listen, have a great 4th of July, great rest of your weekend, and enjoy the endless hours of fireworks. And we'll talk next time. Boomer.
Okay.